Before we begin, I have a confession to make. I'm obsessed with Grey's Anatomy, and as much as I hate to admit it, my research is somewhat inspired by the show. There's an episode where a cardiac trauma patient is in desperate need of a blood transfusion. After realizing the patient is a Jehovah's Witness, the doctors try to get permission from his parents to do a blood transfusion even though it violates their religious beliefs. They refuse, and the boy dies. In other episodes, the doctors and patients visited the hospital's chapel to light candles or to pray. Even non-religious characters prayed when a patient needed it or when they felt hopeless. Now, luckily, I did not base my research in the show. It merely got me thinking about how religion and spirituality has involvement in the medical world. From there, I began to consider the ways in which medicine and religion are intertwined, and I found that there is a lot of good that can come out of their relationship because, after all, religion and spirituality are comforting, but hospitals are not. Hospitals and medical centers are often perceived as scary places, which is understandable. It is in these places that people receive frightening diagnoses, lose loved ones, undergo sometimes difficult treatments, and more. Religion and spirituality is an important part of many people's lives, especially when they are in vulnerable and uncertain situations, such as being sick or being in the hospital or seeing a loved one sick. Now, I am not a religious person, but I do think that there is a lot to be said for the way religion and spirituality help people in their day-to-day lives. It is consistent and it makes them feel good. So what's the harm in using it to bring some normalcy and comfort in such difficult situations? Choosing to separate religion and spirituality from medicine is doing a disservice to patients when it can be a major asset. It can help patients be more comfortable and satisfied while also giving a more complete picture of who they are as individuals. One of the main goals in medical treatment is to help patients find comfort and have a positive experience. This helps them get better. For some, religion and spirituality plays an important role in their lives. So, why should things change when they're receiving treatment? According to an analysis of a study done on general internal medicine patients at the University of Chicago Medical Center, 41% of inpatients wanted to discuss religious or spiritual concerns, but only half of them had these conversations. That is concerning because patients deserve to have these interactions if they desire them, because it has the potential to improve their quality of care. When patients are asked about something outside the realm of science and or medicine, it begins to strengthen the relationship between patient and physician. Too often, patients are defined only by their ailments, rather than who they are as individuals, which creates a disconnect. If healthcare workers were willing or able to discuss religious or spiritual concerns or the beliefs in general of their patients, I am sure that we would see a dramatic transformation in medical care. Patients would be regarded as more than their illnesses. Suddenly, they are considered holistically. They are seen as a person, not an ailment. Back in 1988, Peter John Knott, the former Bishop of Norwich, gave the traditional sermon before the start of the British Medical Association's annual representative meeting in Norwich Cathedral. He preached about how priests and doctors both look at wholeness, saying, quote, "We approach it from different starting points and with different perspectives and different skills, but both are concerned with wholeness, with the whole person," end quote. Priests and doctors start with the soul and the body, respectively. Though they start with one or the other, it all connects, and they both have to look at every aspect in order to understand their patients. While having the patient seen in a more complete way, it also brings comfort, since the physician makes an effort to know the patient outside of the reason for their time in the hospital. Now, if patient comfort is not reason enough, understanding one's religious or spiritual preferences can create a more complete picture when their religious practices or exemptions are made known to the doctor in case they should impact future treatment or their current treatment. This gives the opportunity for planning so any severe consequences are alleviated. Now, Conversations regarding religion and spirituality are by no means required. In fact, it feels unnecessary if we consider more minor hospital visits for problems such as a sprained ankle, a broken wrist, or stitches for a small cut, and certainly non religious people would not desire these conversations. However, in Joshua A. Williams' paper called Attention to Inpatients' Religious and Spiritual Concerns, Predictors and Association with Patient Satisfaction, he indicated that religious patients or those with severe pain are more likely to want and to have religious or spiritual conversations. This seemed rather obvious. Religious people will want to talk about their religion, and those who are suffering may see an acknowledgement and consideration of a higher power as critical to dealing with their pain. Additionally, this inclusion becomes especially important if patients are terminally ill or in a place where there is little hope. Something familiar and important, like religion and spirituality, is beneficial in times like those. For patients without hope for recovery, religion and spirituality can help them heal by bringing them to terms with their end, since they are unable to be cured, helping them reach acceptance. Rabbi Richard F. Address argued the importance of the relationship between religion and spirituality in medicine, and this idea of healing. He said, quote, "We all have had experience with people who have not been cured, but who have been healed. Healed in a sense of facing their end in peace and with a sense of wholeness." End quote. Helping religious and spiritual people come to terms with the end of their lives and be prepared for an afterlife may be critical. Religion and spirituality can aid people in healing when they cannot be cured. In a similar sense, religion and spirituality can accommodate for gaps in medicine. There are times when treatments fail or diseases are simply incurable. When there is nothing left to do medically, doctors still need to ensure that their patients are as comfortable as possible, which can be done through the inclusion of religion and spirituality in care. However, there's also the idea of how versus why. While medicine and science can answer how something has happened and help patients understand their illness, the question about why it has happened is better approached through religion and spirituality for those who include this in their lives. Address again considers this relationship, saying that religion and spirituality enables patients to consider the quality of life and the dignity and sanctity of human life, in an attempt to think about meaning. Religion and spirituality can essentially fill in the gaps where medicine falls short. Medicines and treatment plans do not consider meaning or the sacredness of human life. They simply work to preserve and to cure. However, religion and spirituality often offer interesting and important commentary on why people do what they do and why they exist. Since medicine cannot cover all patients' needs, including religion and spirituality can help alleviate the issue of medicine falling short. Religion and spirituality brings comfort. When asked about it, patients are momentarily removed from the scariness of their situations and able to speak about something valuable to them. They can create a tighter bond with the clinicians they are working with and alert them to any possible exemptions. It helps people approach the end of their lives with a sense of peace when medicine has done all it can for them. Similarly, it helps navigate the difficult existential questions like the meaning of one's suffering or of life. So, clearly, there's a lot to be said for the inclusion of religion and spirituality. Now, naturally, there are some critics, and these critics may argue that there is simply not enough time. Long wait times already cause issues, so why make it worse? Well, I think it's worth it, but there are ways it can also be avoided. First, not all patients will want or need to include these conversations, so it is unlikely that there will be dramatic change in the amount of time spent per patient. Also, for inpatients in particular, there is a lot of time when they are not with a doctor or nurse. In this downtime, they could easily meet with a clinical chaplain. Ideally, they would start with a preliminary discussion with a doctor or nurse, and then a clinical chaplain can be directed to the patient's room if they express a desire. This shows that the doctor or nurse cares about the person's beliefs enough to ensure that they are given adequate accommodations. Clinical chaplains are an underutilized yet valuable resource. In a paper by Danish Zaidi, who is an MD candidate at Wake Forest University who holds degrees from both Harvard Medical School and Harvard Divinity School, he details the role of chaplains. He says, quote, "Professional medical chaplains are trained in ways specific to the healthcare setting, orienting their services more to the needs of their patient rather than of their own interpretation of religion or spirituality." End quote. They can support a variety of belief systems while still giving patients the opportunity to talk. I decided to reach out to Peg Hardinge, a volunteer chaplain at Meritus Health, and this is what she told me. She said, quote, "Our job is to take them, their anguish, their fear, their grief or negative energy flow, and find a way to help them process these feelings within the guidelines of their custom or spiritual parameters. To bring them from a deeply troubled, distracted, can't sleep, can't eat frame of mind to a place of understanding, a level of peace, and a genuine ability to embrace the circle of life. We do that through letting them talk their troubles out, asking them questions that will help them understand a situation and figure out their own answers." End quote. She reflects a lot of the ideas I have already mentioned, particularly the concept of framing what patients are experiencing in a religious or spiritual context and navigating the concept of death through religious or spiritual thoughts. There are ways to discuss religion and spirituality that are productive and serve the needs of patients. Bringing in more religion and spirituality would not cause too much change logistically speaking, but it would greatly enhance patient care. It has been a little over a year since I began this research, and now I am seeing the importance of my ideas more than ever. I had always considered typical hospital scenarios utilizing religion and spirituality, but in these last few months, I have seen a greater necessity. Coronavirus has quite literally taken the world by storm, and it is an immediate global concern. The United States, in particular, is being ravaged by the virus. Hospital workers are on the front lines doing all that they can to help patients. Due to the highly contagious nature of the virus, contact is limited, and social distancing orders are in effect all over the nation and the world. Hospitals are especially locked down since they are the ones housing the sick patients. Family members are unable to visit their possibly dying relatives, and many are spending day after day in isolation, save for the occasional visits from hospital staff. For some patients, religion and spirituality is what they need. Clinical chaplains can make rounds to help patients, giving them company and a chance to speak about their religious or spiritual beliefs. For those who are dying, it may be helpful to talk to someone and consider healing since there is no cure yet. It also helps patients be seen as more than just another case. Religion and spirituality may be the only source of comfort for some in such a terrible situation like this. This also highlights the importance of getting a system that includes religion and spirituality in place as soon as possible. Had there already been adequate practices involving religion and spirituality, the ability to comfort patients could have been made much easier. Now we can see that we should do what we can, especially if, and hopefully this does not happen, there is another pandemic. Even outside the realm of a pandemic, religion and spirituality is important. It brings comfort to patients. They can become closer with those who are working with them, and those who are working with them can help them anticipate future issues. Also, they are able to be healed while also working to determine the whys of their situation. All in all, it has the ability to make such a difficult and trying experience even just the tiniest bit better. Religious or not, I think we can all agree that finding ways to improve medical treatment beyond medicine and science is very important, since science takes time. And even if you're not religious, there are a large number of people that are. So helping a lot of people should be seen as a win for humanity. The truth is, science and medicine have come so far, and they are the reason we are able to live longer and healthier lives than our ancestors. However, it is important to consider the other aspects of life that can be brought into care, especially in a time like now, when medicine feels particularly fallible. It is comforting to know that in order to help alleviate the anxiety associated with patients, religion and spirituality could be the medical world's saving grace. Thank you.